guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to talk about another Xehanort theory regarding this time Riku and Ansem and Master Xehanort. So, my last couple videos have been Xehanort theories due to the fact that I do not think that everything Master Xehanort has done in Kingdom Hearts will be left behind in the newer games after Melody of Memories. Xehanort has done too much in the saga itself to be the reason why of the catastrophes that have happened, and the reason why Sora even gained the Keyblade, for even why Riku gained the Keyblade, and why they were the ones to be able to make that step to advance through the Kingdom Hearts series. So today, the theory is going to be on multiple different things, actually. Today we're going to be talking about why would Ansem wait for Riku and Sora to be put on Destiny Island? Was Riku originally the one to be chosen to be possessed by Ansem? And did Ansem already know the victim he wanted to possess? And the last three, which is going to be pretty short, can Riku still use the dark power Ansem gave him from all the other Kingdom Hearts series? So, we're going to start with the longest theory first. And that is, did Ansem wait for Riku and Sora? And we're going to combine that theory with the second one that I spoke of. Is Riku really the chosen one Ansem was looking for? So, in a great game called Kingdom Hearts 1, a boy named Riku was possessed by a man named Ansem. Ansem the Wise, as they all thought he was, but actually he's Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. Ansem took his master's name and became the one to finish the experiments that would further his knowledge on Kingdom Hearts. Later on, that Xemnas would finish as well. So, in Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories, we know that Ansem experimented on Kairi, and I have a theory on why. I feel as if he experimented on Kairi to be the one to know when the next Keyblade wielder would be born. I feel as if that Ansem experimented on Kairi so she could be the beacon to find the next Keyblade wielder. So he would know who to have. But I do think that, like Tara said, he gifted Riku that Keyblade. Now the thing here that I'd like to talk about is, was Riku actually the chosen one to be possessed by, by Ansem? Was it originally supposed to be Sora, or was Ansem always eyeing Riku? And I think he always was. Ansem went to the past, he said, to tell his younger self of the greater plan that he had in store for the future. Ansem waited for Riku and Sora to be put on Destiny Island, or to be born there, so one of them could be possessed. I do feel as if that Ansem possessed Riku because Riku was the one chosen for the Keyblade. But if we do think about it today, what if Riku was chosen for the Keyblade, and like Ansem said, he knew Riku didn't have it because he was no longer worthy for it? So, the thing here is that, was Riku always the chosen one in this different timeline Ansem went through to find the Keyblade? Was Riku always chosen to be the one to become possessed? This theory is going to be pretty interesting because if you think about it here, Riku was possessed by Ansem because he wanted the Keyblade and the darkness he controlled. But if you think about it, Ansem gave Riku the power to wield his own Keyblade too, technically. Now, I believe that Sora, like it was possible in my last theory, was never chosen to have the Keyblade, just like Tara said, as Lingering Will in Kingdom Hearts 2. You are not the one that I chose. But if we think about it here, does that mean that Ansem always was going to possess Riku? I think not. I believe that Riku actually was never supposed to be possessed. I actually think that it could have been Kairi or Sora in an alternate timeline that could have been possessed. And the reason why I'm saying that in this theory is because Riku was chosen for the Keyblade, but at the end of the day took the darkness to try to gain the Keyblade back. And to prove that he loved Kairi more, which whatever, that is all in the trash now because Nomura changes it every day. But also, Riku's design is actually very interesting as well. Riku in Kingdom Hearts already had a silverish white hair. Unlike his teacher, technically Ansem, they both technically almost have the same hair as well. Same hair. Due to the fact that I think Nomura already knew what he was going to do with Riku. Now, I don't know if all Xehanorts were supposed to have white hair. I don't know if Riku's an exception, because Riku isn't a Xehanort, but he already had the white hair. But the thing is that is Riku's white hair supposed to represent that he was chosen for the possession? Now, I know that sounds like a stretch, and I could be reaching so far that my arm fell out of my socket, but think about it here. Riku in every game always said the darkness is always around his heart no matter what he does. This means that Ansem gave him potential power to not just be also the Keyblade wielder, but also could potentially be the one to also open Kingdom Hearts due to the fact that was Ansem's goal. So if we think about it here, was Riku ever really supposed to be possessed by Ansem? I do not think so. I think it was supposed to be Sora. Now, I know that sounds crazy here to think, but remember, Riku was the one chosen for the Keyblade, not Sora, which means Kairi was never supposed to be with Sora. Actually, her love interest should have been Riku, which I know sounds crazy, but that's how it should have been. If Riku never lost the Keyblade, Riku would have been the hero of that story. He would have gained the Keyblade. He would have been the one, like he tried to say, to save Kairi. Now, Riku was a little bit different when it came to that ideology, but Riku only accepted the darkness because he wanted to leave the tiny island. But let's say even if Riku still did gain the Keyblade, Sora would be the one to go into the darkness, because Sora would be the one to have to try to find any possible way to save Kairi. There's no other way to save Kairi but with the darkness after that, due to the fact that the Keyblade, which is light, is already in Riku's hand. Which means that Sora would have been the one to join the darkness and probably be possessed by Ansem, while Riku would have been the one not to be possessed by Ansem, but would have been the one to take the step, like he already did, to find King Mickey. The story would have changed so much if Ansem never possessed Riku and possessed Sora. But remember here, Sora is naturally good at using the Keyblade. Sora's not a Keyblade master for some reason, but he is actually very naturally good at using a Keyblade, better than Riku. I do think Sora is probably the strongest, second or third strongest Keyblade wielder in Kingdom Hearts, due to the fact that, well, he's just naturally good at swinging the thing around. And also, if you think about it, Sora has never been scared to use the power of darkness. I know people could say, well, how is that true? Well, look at Roxas. Roxas does hold the Oblivion, which is Riku. The Oblivion is darkness. Sora's darkness that he has in his heart comes from Riku. Riku is Sora's Oblivion. But that darkness makes Sora stronger, which means that Sora is automatically well-rounded in using light and darkness in Kingdom Hearts. But the thing here is that, can Riku do the same? Now we're going to get into the third theory of the video that I think is the most important here. Can Riku still use Ansem's power? Now I know a lot of people can say, well, of course, duh. He wouldn't have power if it wasn't for Ansem, but that's not true. Because there's one thing here that's still pretty interesting. The Keyblade, the old one that Riku used to use, that little bat one right there, whatever that is, that used to be Riku's original Keyblade. Which means Ansem's power is still inside of Riku. But that also could mean that Riku could activate the power whenever he pleases. If that is true, then that could mean that Riku still has the power to also use all of Ansem's, technically, should I say, abilities? Now, I'm going to do another theory on can Sora and Ventus still use Vanitas' strength? But that's another theory for the future, because these are Xehanort theories. And I do think that, like Ansem said in Chain of Memories, he will come back one day. He gave Riku everything he has. Ansem cannot be possibly dead because he lives in the shadows. Now, the shadows inside of Riku are very powerful. Riku still has his dark form. He even has the dark form barrier. But the thing is that Riku does not transform anymore into his dark mode, as we want to call it. Which I know he still has, due to the fact that he's still able to use all the other abilities like Dark Faraga. He's able to still use his dark abilities. He's still able to use the darkness to his will. Which means he still can probably do everything Ansem could probably do as well. The only thing that he would lose is the Guardian, because Terra's here now. The Guardian would no longer be a part of him. But think how cool that sounds. Riku being able to use Ansem's abilities makes it so that Riku is potentially able to probably master the darkness that Ansem was seeking for. Which is pretty interesting. Yes, Ansem said in Kingdom Hearts 3, your strength is vaster than darkness. But the thing is that Riku's darkness isn't just darkness, it's oblivion. Oblivion is ultimate nothingness. It's darkness that cannot be tainted or overshadowed by light. It's nothing more than just infinite amount of shadows. Oblivion. The oblivion happens when everything's destroyed and is swallowed in darkness. Which means Riku potentially still could have the power of his strength in Kingdom Hearts. Because if Sora can still use the Oblivion Keyblade, now I know that sounds pretty weird, but in the Kingdom Hearts DDD, or Dream Shop Distance opening, you do see Sora being able to using the Oathkeeper and Oblivion in those cutscenes. Which means he can use them in some of them just like Roxas. And if Riku is that Oblivion of Sora's heart, that means that Riku still has that great darkness, even in Riku's pedestal or his heart. Ansem is in the picture with Mickey and Naminé. The thing is here is that that means that Ansem will always be in Riku's heart. Just like in Kingdom Hearts 3 when he said that, I'm gonna miss you. Well, he's telling the truth. But the thing is that Ansem's not gone, Riku. In my opinion, he's still alive. Because he's just like Vanitas, he's a shadow. They're not like Xemnas. See, Xemnas is an Ansem who's a heartless, but remember what Ansem said. He lives in the shadows. Even when he dies, he will always be there, no matter what. His power will always be in Riku. No matter how much he tries to get rid of it, it will be there forever. Which means, is Riku not using all of the power he potentially has? Which means, if Riku could still have his dark form, now say, well, that only comes with the original Keyblade he used to use in Chain of Memories, in Kingdom Hearts 2, and Assumption. Due to the fact that Riku does still have dark form. He has it in Kingdom Hearts 3, he just doesn't change. Which, why would that leave his arsenal? Due to the fact, if Sora's nobody can still have some in his arsenal if Ansem gave him the power he gave him. In Kingdom, I gave you this power. I gave you all of this darkness, and it's never going to leave your heart. And that's why in Kingdom Hearts DDD, Riku said it himself. I still think the darkness has a grip around my heart. Which is the truth, it does. And no matter how much Riku tries, it'll never disappear. Which means, in this case, if the plan was a failure, Riku was supposed to take Ansem's place and serve him. And Riku would have become the next, let's say, heir of the darkness. But Riku never was able to complete it because Riku left that darkness. But the thing here is that Ansem's final plan. But I do not believe that. I do believe that Riku is also a part of that final plan. Riku has Ansem's darkness, which makes it so that he is the leftover repercussions of Ansem's failures and accomplishments. Like Ansem said, he will never die because he lives in the shadows, just like Riku probably could as well. He's a Dream Eater as well, which means that Ansem completed his plan with Riku. Ansem gave Riku everything he could. So Ansem's plan was already working since the beginning. He left himself inside of somebody else, just like Xehanort. Riku may not have the Nordic eyes, but Ansem's darkness is still in him. The Oblivion Keyblade represents the darkness that Riku had in him that caused Sora in Kingdom Hearts to Sora. If light and darkness are eternal, Xemnas represented was the darkness of nothingness, which also comes from the Oblivion. Which means that Sora is also already been chosen as well by Master Xehanort. Xemnas was the piece to finish Master Xehanort's plan with Sora. Xemnas chose Sora as the one he would, let's say, engulf in that oblivion, forcing Sora to use everything possible in his arsenal to destroy Xemnas, but also showing that Sora can use the darkness, and Sora also was heartless, which means that Ansem and Xemnas already left behind those as well, those enhancements to them. And whatever he's doing to Kairi already shows that Ansem's plan already was successful. There was never any downfall to his plan. Probably will be. Nomura can add more onto it as we'll see. Maybe he'll do Kairi right for once, I hope. But I do think that this could probably become the Riku game in Melody of Mist. Ansem's student has the funny glowing hand thing. Even though that's the replica is Riku. So the thing is that he probably can still do that. He could probably still use the dark form. He probably can still use his everlasting darkness. He can probably still summon the mines, the claw from the ground. Because remember, in Kingdom Hearts 3, Riku can still use Dark Faraga in his shot lock. That automatically shows that Ansem's power is still inside of him. That I think he's probably ready to move on from that saga in his life. But who? Riku. Ansem's darkness, maybe he can summon another guardian. Maybe looking at Riku. Or think of Riku's dark form having a new really doesn't. He stays pretty bland. Kind of probably ruins the transformation on its own, but who said that he needs the Keyblade? Ansem never used the Keyblade. Well, he did once, but he never used it again. And Xemnas never really needed a Keyblade either, so who said comments below? I do think Ansem's plan was already complete once he possessed Riku. Once Kairi technically failed, if what my theory was right, of what Kairi is, something in the back he could fall on. He possessed Riku, made Sora heartless, and was the one that brought Xemnas. So he already had his plan complete. Ansem already finished his goal. So to tell you the story, because Ansem's already done everything, he's already possessed Riku, he's probably still living. I have the feeling of darkness in the Oblivion, giving Sora the power of darkness named Xion, or Xion, how are you going to call her? And then Sora's merged with Ventus, who already felt his Oblivion from Vanitas, who was a part of Vanitas and someone summoned by Xehanort. Xehanort's plan, or Ansem's plan, has already been technically complete.